Mando and the Imperial test. The Razor Crest dropped out of hyperspace with a low rumble, stars stretching back into points of light. Below lay Vornus, a metallic world wrapped in storm clouds and dotted with glowing structures that pulsed like veins of circuitry. Mando adjusted the ship's controls and muttered, "Looks like the Empire's been busy." From the co-pilot's seat, Grogu peeked over the dashboard, cooing softly. His reflection flickered in the viewport as lightning flashed across the planet. "Yeah, kid," Mando said, flicking a switch. "One quick job, then we're gone." He didn't sound convinced. They landed on a flat terrestrial platform near a sprawling Imperial complex that gleamed beneath the clouds. Troopers lined up along the landing pad, rifles at rest but eyes sharp. A sleek uniformed officer stepped forward, chin high and voice clipped. "Mandalore Din Djarin, the Empire appreciates your professionalism. You've been contracted to test our latest defensive systems and assess troop readiness." Mando gave a curt nod. "Payment first." The officer's lips twitched. "You'll receive full compensation after the demonstration." Typical, Mando thought. Imperial words always came with chains you couldn't see. Grogu yawned in his satchel, already bored. Inside, sterile white corridors stretched endlessly. Droids whirred overhead. Cameras followed their every move. Mando's armor clanked softly as he walked, eyes scanning. "Nice setup," he muttered. "A little too clean." "Efficiency is order," the officer replied stiffly. "We've improved everything since previous management," Mando grunted. He'd heard that line before. At the end of the hall, they stopped at a blast door. The officer gestured grandly. "The test begins here. You will attempt to breach our security and reach the command center. If you succeed, you prove our defenses need refinement, and if I fail, then we celebrate the Empire's progress." Mando tilted his helmet slightly. "Right." The door hissed open. Immediately, a dozen turrets dropped from the ceiling, and red lasers painted Mando's chest. He dived behind a crate as bolts of light sizzled past. Grogu squeaked, holding the satchel flap shut. "Relax," Mando muttered, launching a smoke bomb. "Just a test." He fired his grappling hook, swung upward, and disabled the turrets one by one with precision shots. Within minutes, the room fell silent, smoke curling lazily around the walls. From an intercom, the officer's voice crackled. "Impressive. Proceed to the next sector." "Glad you're entertained," Mando replied flatly. Grogu crawled out, eyes glowing with mischief. As they advanced, motion sensors triggered sealed doors and plasma barriers. Mando scanned them, calculating routes. Grogu, however, had other ideas. Raising a small hand, he simply shut off the barriers with a flick of the Force. The lights flickered, the alarms stuttered. Mando stopped. "Kid, you're not supposed to help. This is their test." Grogu tilted his head, ears drooping slightly, then grinned and pressed the next button anyway. "Fine," Mando sighed. "But don't tell them you're doing all the work." By the time they reached the third sector, Mando had noticed a pattern. Every door, every turret, every corridor seemed aimed inward, not outward. These weren't defenses against invaders, they were traps for people inside. Something prickled at the back of his neck. He opened a panel and spliced into the network. Code flashed across his visor, Imperial schematics unfolding before him. What he saw made his stomach turn. The system wasn't a security grid at all. It was a control lattice, built to monitor and restrain entire colonies. The Empire planned to install it across multiple worlds, a digital cage that could shut down ships, communications, even life support at will. Mando muttered under his breath. "You've got to be kidding me." Grogu climbed up onto the console, eyes wide. He looked at the data, then at Mando, sensing the anger beneath the armor. "Yeah, kid," Mando said. "They're doing it again." The officer's voice came through the intercom once more. "Mr. Djarin, your progress is extraordinary. You've reached the heart of the facility. Now please remain still while we finalize our analysis." Every door slammed shut. Dozens of stormtroopers poured into the hall, rifles raised. Grogu hissed softly, his tiny hand curling into a fist. Mando slowly turned. "So this was the real test?" "Indeed," the officer replied. "We needed to ensure our system could contain even the most dangerous bounty hunter. And your companion, well, his blood carries remarkable properties. We'll take him now." The troopers advanced and the lights exploded into darkness. A flash of blue, Grogu's hand glowing faintly, sent several troopers crashing backward. Mando ignited his flamethrower, sweeping through the smoke. Blaster fire lit the corridor like a strobe, the hiss of bolts bouncing off Beskar. "Kid, find us a way out," he shouted. Grogu concentrated, and a maintenance hatch burst open at the far end. They sprinted through, alarms wailing behind them. The officer's voice followed, furious. "Stop them. Seal the reactor core." Mando slid through a narrow tunnel and dropped into a glowing chamber filled with humming conduits. He planted charges along the main energy coil, his movements quick and practiced. Grogu tugged his cape, pointing toward a group of troopers descending the stairs. "I see them," Mando said, blasting one into the railing. "Let's finish this." The charges beeped in sync. Mando scooped up Grogu and sprinted for the exit. The reactor roared as light pulsed from the walls. Troopers shouted. The officer appeared on the catwalk above, screaming, "You're throwing away history." Mando looked up. "No, I'm saving it." He hit the detonator. The explosion ripped through the complex, fire chasing them down the hall. The blast door burst open, and the two of them flew out onto the landing pad as the Razor Crest's engines ignited. They barely cleared the shockwave before the entire base imploded into molten debris. In the silence of space, Mando leaned back in the pilot's chair. His armor was scorched, cape singed, but his voice calm. No more Imperial contracts. Grogu sat beside him, nibbling on a snack cube, unfazed by the destruction of a secret Imperial facility. Mando glanced at him. "You realize you blew out half their systems before I even planted the charges, right?" Grogu burped. Mando chuckled under his helmet. "Yeah, you're definitely the dangerous one." Outside, the stars stretched as they jumped to hyperspace, a small ship carrying two unlikely heroes, leaving another Imperial secret in ashes behind them. End.